Welcome everyone, my name is Jonatán Imre Nagy-Bato, this is Faith Radio, and our guest today is Abraham Knut, member of Bundestag for CDU. Thanks a lot for being available for us.
Thank you for having me.
The past few years wasn't the, let's say, best for the German-Hungarian relations. Could the next 4 years be the turning point for this relation?
Well, let me first of all say that I do not completely agree with this analysis. Of course, there are fundamental changes in political views. That is true. But when you look at the economic situation and the economic partnership, or when you look at all the German investors here in your country, and also on the cultural side, you know, I'm active in the German-Hungarian youth activities. That is positive. But to come back to the core of your question, yes, we are building just now a new German government, and this offers a unique opportunity to reconsider relations. So this is also the idea of my visit to Budapest today and in the last days, to simply signal that we are very much interested in Hungary, and that there is the chance of opening a new chapter.
Was it useful?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm really grateful and quite impressed by the high-ranking partners I could talk to, I was received by. And this is, of course, also a detail I'm reporting back home when I'll be back in Berlin tomorrow.
We heard that Merz and SPD decided or thought that it would be a great idea if, like, Hungary, suspend Hungary's vote and funds from Europe because of, you know, the rule of law. Could this affect the Hungarian-German relations?
Of course, the German-Hungarian relations are set up in the wide spectrum of the European Union. But I would not agree on saying that these measures are aimed at Hungary as an isolated case. No, neither Germany nor the European Union are somehow anti-Hungarian. The point is that these rules are true for everyone, including Germany. By the way, when we were neglecting the rules of the Stability Pact, for example, so there were sanctions on Germany. So these rules are true and valid for everyone.
The coming or prospective coalition between CDU and SPD seem like very weak. For example, in nuclear policies, migration. What is your opinion? Will there be a stable coalition after April 20th?
Yes, we are preparing that coalition quite carefully, and we are taking a long time because we know that, and you are completely right on that, the partners are very diverse. The partners are from different political camps. And so what we are doing now is negotiating a coalition treaty for almost every detail of politics and policies for the next 4 years. It is like in a marriage when you know that you are not in love, which is not a very fortunate situation for a marriage. But this is true because the two partners are ideologically apart. But I do expect a stable majority because this coalition will be funded by and guaranteed by the coalition treaty on which we were working.
Who will be in charge? I mean, as I heard, SPD said that CDU can't reform migration laws. If the SPD said that means they are somewhat in charge in this coalition.
Yes, tactically, it is not an easy position for the Christian Democrats from my party because we rely on one partner, and so there is a certain pressure to find compromises. But we are not willing. You know, our voters have voted for us expecting a change in certain policies. And we have to perform. We have, as we say in German, we have to deliver. And so the space for not acting is limited. People expect as we say in German, Politikwechsel, so a change in politics.
And will there be a change?
Yes. It will be on the economy. We have to lower the energy prices. It will be on migration. We have to bring down the number of arriving migrants. This is what people clearly expect. And we have to reorganize infrastructure in Germany, which there is an incredible necessity for infrastructure, and rebuilding our armed forces.
You mentioned energy policy. Can rebuilding the relation with Russia and reopening Nord Stream a solution for the energy crisis?
No, we have made, sadly, terribly bad experience with a dependency on Russian energy. And before rethinking and reconsidering any steps, there must be a movement on the Russian side, because it is them who started a war in Europe. The problem is not that we are anti-Russian per se. The problem is that we had, and I'm from the eastern part of Germany, we had a 98.5 dependency on oil. On gas, it was a little bit low. It was 65, 70% in the east. This is simply not healthy. This is not good for our dependency on Russia, and we don't want to replace it to any other dependency. So what we need is a variety of energy sources. And this is, by the way, one of the reasons we are reconsidering nuclear.
And what are the other countries who can be partners of Germany in feels like that?
On the oil, it is, interestingly, Central Asia, it is Norway, and still Britain, but mainly Norway and Central Asia. On gas, it is mainly LNG originating from the United States, and also some home production of gas.
But isn't it more expensive than, bring from Russia?
Yes, but we have completely lost trust in Russia as a partner. A partner country has to play according to the rules, not only in business contracts, but also in foreign policy, and rebuilding trust is a very difficult matter.
You mentioned nuclear politics or nuclear energy. Your party mentioned that you would like to reopen 6 or 7 nuclear plants.
Well, yes. So we had another change in approach to nuclear energy. In 2011, the government under Angela Merkel had decided to quit nuclear energy. We consider that today as a mistake. So we have opened the idea of reinvesting into nuclear, but not in the old and closed nuclear plants, but in new technology. The problem with that is that it will take a long, long time.
And what about SPD? What they say about it?
They are reluctant, but I'm using the English word of reluctance. So if you meet and if the people listening would listen to a social democratic politician, the answer would probably be no. But I don't think that it's a categoric no, because we see the necessity for different sources of energy. And when we look at Hungary, for example, you are investing in nuclear. Our direct neighbors, Poland, is now starting to to build the first nuclear plant on the Baltic Sea coast. Other countries, France is heavily dependent on, and so I think there is an openness to reconsider, especially because the new technologies in nuclear are producing less nuclear waste, which is the main problem in Germany, because we have no area where to put the nuclear waste.
What about nuclear weapons?
Under national German control, not. But as you know, we are involved in the American atomic weapons transported in need by German Air Force. So there is a nucleare Teilhabe, as we say, so an involvement in the American umbrella. But what we should discuss is a broadening of the French nuclear weapons for all of Europe, because Europe, and this includes, of course, Germany, has to invest in its own defense, relying on ourselves.
Germany plans to spend more than 500 billion euros on rearmament or military modernization. And also recently we read at the news that Germany plans to move 5,000 soldiers to Lithuania to defend. How do you respond to concerns that this rearmament revives the memories of Germany's militaristic past?
Well, I think that this is not correct, because there is one key fundamental difference. Now we are acting at the invitation of our neighbors, and that was not precisely the situation 80 years ago. So this is that we all, your country, my country, we are all members of this NATO alliance. And what we do is we invest in our security by securing others. And this, of course, only on invitation, but the Lithuanian invitation was a quite urgent invitation because they really feel threatened.
From Hungary, the presence of two right-wing parties in a parliament working against each other is unbelievable. How do you explain the complete lack of cooperation between CDU, CSU and AfD? From Hungary, it's very unique.
Yes. So there are mainly two aspects. The first is that I would doubt already to put the Alternative für Deutschland, our competitors, under the quality label of a bourgeois party. It is a mixed movement of many people who, for different reasons, are extremely frustrated with the German state. It is even contradictory, but what unites them, and it's okay, it's democratic, but what unites them is that they are miscontent with the situation. On the other side, there are three political points which make the difference. The first is the CDU was pro-European and has ever been pro-European. The AfD wants
Since Adenauer.
Since Adenauer, exactly. And Helmut Kohl with a strong relationship to Hungary. And when you read the program of the AfD, they want to destroy the European Union. So and for us, it's not a belief, but we are deeply convinced that stability, growth, wealth, and security are originating from our positioning inside the European Union. And the AfD has a completely different concept. That's all right, but it's not ours. Secondly, we hold Putin responsible for the war against Ukraine. The AfD supports Putin. And the third point is the rule of law when it comes to migration. It is a big, big, big challenge, and our voters too expect changes in the migration policy, but we need to play according to the rules. We cannot simply collect people from the streets and send them somewhere. And let me maybe a final fourth point, and that is that they declare the CDU as their main enemy. And why should we consider working together with them? It's the democratic choice of the voters who do, but they are not our partners.
In Hungary, the second largest opposition party, DK, still holds significant parliamentary roles, but AfD hasn't. I mean, they are not giving the vice president of Bundestag or they haven't got any committee presidents. What is your take on that? Because it's not really democratic.
Yeah, I understand that there are questions like that, and it needs two to tango. You are right that according to the rules there should be a vice president, but on the other hand, also this vice president or vice speaker has to be elected. And you cannot force democratically elected members of parliament to vote for someone who they don't want. But I see that this is a critical point, yes.
Let's talk a bit about Ukraine. From Hungary, it's not clear to us that how can Ukraine become the member of the European Union, because they have high corruption, they have minority problems, for example, Hungarians. They just banned political parties. They have hostile relations with EU countries, Hungary, Slovakia. So how can they become European Union members?
Well, they can only become members of the European Union if they fulfill the criteria. And all the issues you were just mentioning are absolutely relevant to have a very profound look at, because there is no special price for a membership. They have the Ukraine, as Moldova, as your neighbors here in Southeast Europe. They have to meet the criteria. There is no super saver membership in the European Union. They have to play according to the rules, and this has to be made very clearly from the very start, because if not, we end up in the Article 7 problematic.
Last question. Netanyahu visits Hungary today.
Yes.
And Hungary won't arrest Netanyahu.
Yes.
If Netanyahu would visit Germany, would Germans arrest Netanyahu?
Well, I cannot see a situation like that. It is simply unthinkable that an Israeli prime minister would be under any arrest law. But this I have to leave this last question open, because under the rules of the International Criminal Court, we are supposed to arrest according to arrest orders. But the reality speaks another language here. So no. My party leader, Friedrich Merz, made that very clear that that would be not the case. No.
Knut Abraham, thanks a lot for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.